Hi everyone, I just wanted to put together a couple of videos for you to go over some cutting techniques you might use in my recipes and just give you some quick tips and just a little guidance on how I go about cutting my vegetables. Alright, so first here I'm going to be chopping a bell pepper. And so the first thing I want to point out is the type of knife you're using. Some people tend to go for smaller knives when you're cutting vegetables, like these two here. And I definitely recommend getting a larger chopping knife. Makes the job a lot easier and faster. So what you want to do initially is just cut the bell pepper in half lengthwise. You can either stand up on its top here or go from the side. I usually just go from the top. So just slice it right down the middle. And then it'll look like this when you open it up. From here, what I do is I honestly just use my fingers and I grab out this top portion here. And the reason I do this is I'm able to keep most of the fleshy part of the pepper then. And then you can simply just tap out the rest of the seeds or run it under cold water in order to get the seeds out. So we'll do this other side here. And if you aren't comfortable taking it out with your fingers, you can definitely just use your knife and just, carve it out that way. And sometimes, like, I'll do this with the side because it is a little, has a little bit of the stem left on it there. And again, you can just pull out any of this extra white fleshy stuff if you want. Tap out the seeds here. All right, so if you're just cutting the pepper in strips, simply follow that first cut that you made and just simply slice it like that. So I will do this whole half for you here. And then next I will be showing you a chop. So if any of my recipes say like chopped bell pepper, this is what I usually do. So I take about half of that half, so I guess a quarter of the pepper, and I just line it up even here with my knife. Just be careful with your fingers, but as long as you're, keeping a good eye on it, you should be fine. And just keep chopping away like this. Don't worry about things being pretty when you cook. It all tastes the same, so you don't need to make even cuts by any means. So that would be a chop, about this, bite-sized pieces. And with these ones here, I will do a dice. So you just want to basically make smaller cuts here. Again, I've been doing this for years, so don't worry about going as fast as I am, just kind of the rhythm I have. And then after you get through with that, if you feel you want them any smaller, just kind of set your hand here on top of the knife and continue to dice it, like so. And then just kind of get the extras off the knife, change your positioning a little bit, and then go at it again. Give it one more here. Just like that. So you'll see here the difference between a chop and a dice. And you could even get these a little bit smaller, especially if you're putting them in like a salsa or some kind of sauce where you don't want quite as big of chunks in it. So that is how, I guess the three basic ways I would chop a bell pepper: the strips, whether that be for fajitas or snacks, and then the chopped pepper here, and then a dice cut here. Alright, so next I'll be showing you an onion, how to dice an onion and chop it. So I just wanted to give you two examples of sizes. So when I say a large onion in a recipe, this is what I would consider large. Anything greater than this, I guess I would just use 3/4 of it. This would be medium, and then obviously a smaller one is smaller than the medium. So just giving you a reference for sizes in my recipes. So first with an onion, what you want to do is cut off the top, just like that. And then what I do is I flip it around and cut off the bottom. Just throw those ends away. And then you can either use your knife and just create a small slit right there, or if the onion's thin enough, you could just use your finger to peel it apart. So I take this layer and then the next layer off. And the reason behind that is this layer, as you can see, is often really like flimsy and just gets dried up. So it's good to peel that off as well. Get all that off, and then what you want to do is actually rinse your onions in cold water. This, believe it or not, will help keep your eyes from burning as much, and then also gets any residue off. So after you rinse it, just chop it down the center like we did with the pepper, and then flip it down on that side you just cut. And a trick with onions, if you like more sweet onions, cut along the ribs that you'll see here. If you want them, if you don't really care at all, then it doesn't really matter which way you face onion, but for this purpose I'm going to cut along the ribs, and so I'm just holding onto the onion with my fingers here and then slicing about centimeters width, and kind of keep the onion there all combined, and then you can just rotate it, have it flush with your knife, and continue to chop. And granted, this will take practice. It's definitely a practice thing to practice in order to get that technique down. So this was considered a dice, so a little bit smaller, and you could even continue to chop it like I did with that pepper, and then just keep rotating your angle of your knife. For instance, this would be what I would do in like a salsa, or like a marinade, or marinara sauce. Alright, a little bit more here, this will be all diced. And again, I'm just rotating the angle of the knife each time, or the position of the onions. And then on this half, I'm going to just go along the ribs here again. And so this cut here would be what you'd use for fajitas. So after I get this all sliced, you would just, peel this apart for your fajita and put it in your frying pan like that. So those would just be slices. And then to chop it, you just don't want to do quite as small of cuts. So maybe just 4 or 5 per half of an onion. And that will be a chopped onion. So I'm just going to scoot these to the side here and show you guys potatoes next. So with this small yellow potato here, I'm going to make cubes, and so this would be for like my breakfast sweet potato cubes, or if you're roasting potatoes in the oven, this is what I recommend. And always wash and scrub your potatoes. You should do it with any vegetable, but definitely scrub your potatoes down just because there's sometimes still soil left on them. So just cut it down in half there, and again flip the potato over so the cut side is down, and then you're just gonna make 3 or 4, depending on the size of your potato. I guess 3 is good for this. 3 or 4 slices down lengthwise, and then turn it and chop it into cubes. And these are pretty small just because the potato wasn't that wide, but anything this smaller, being a little bigger, would work really well for the breakfast potatoes and then the roasted potatoes as well. So just cut this in 3 again, rotate, and then chop into cubes. And that would be how you cube a potato. With this sweet potato here, I'm going to show you how you can do more of a julienne cut and what you would use for sweet potato fries. So cut off the ends. The sweet potatoes especially have pretty dried out ends that just don't taste good, so just cut those off. Again, cut it down the center lengthwise. And then flip it down so the cut side is down. And with this potato, since it's not super long, I'm not going to chop down the center. If you have rather long sweet potato, say like the size of this knife, I would cut that in half just because they're gonna bake more even. So you simply just cut it lengthwise down the potato like so. And then here with the ends, these pieces are good, but you'll see here, these are still pretty wide for fries. So you just flip them, and you can even keep them together. I took those ones apart, but so you can multitask and do more than one at a time. And just chop that down the center one more time, and then you have a nice even little fry here. So I'll chop these again, just like so. All right, so we just went over onions and potatoes, and next I'll be doing some zucchini noodles. All right, so now I'm going to go over how to make zoodles or zucchini noodles. So you're gonna want a zucchini, obviously, zucchini squash, and I recommend a spiralizer such as this here. And the brand I have is called Paderno, and you can get this off of Amazon. It's actually in my Things I Love page on my website. In addition, you can also use a julienne peeler. If you're not sure if you like zucchini noodles yet, I recommend starting with that. But those are much easier to figure out. So we'll just go with the spiralizer here for now. And what you want to do is chop off both ends. Of course, wash the zucchini ahead of time. And then how this works here is you just stick it through, I'll show you here. There's a little center circle, and you want to make sure the center of the zucchini sits in that center blade. So, and then press these prongs up against the end. And then there's a handle here that you just push through as you're turning the zucchini. You'll see the noodles coming out. And you may have to resituate the zucchini depending on how straight of a squash it was. If it stops spiralizing, so just keep twirling. All right, and then at the end you have this lovely little centerpiece that you just toss. But here are all your zucchini noodles. And most recipes you'll be using them for, you'll just be stir frying them or frying them in a pan in olive oil. All right, now I'm going to be cutting an avocado. So this is a little bit tricky, but I have a couple helpful hints to get you through. So just cut all the way around. There's a center pit, so you just kind of keep rotating there around the pit, and then twist. So the pit separates in one half. This avocado's a little bad on the inside, but to get the pit out, what you want to do is just put your knife down into it and twist, and then it comes out super easy. Just be careful when you take it off because the pit is a little bit slimy. So when I'm using avocado for my salads, what I do is I slice down to the skin, so don't go through the skin. Just gently press the knife down, and so you're making small slivers here. And depending on how you want the avocado in your salad, you could just leave it like this, and then take out the slices this way. So you'll just grab a large tablespoon and take out the slices, and then you can just separate them like so. That was a little thick. Or I'll just show you the rest of this half. You can turn the avocado and make cubes like so. And then when you pop it out, and I would just normally do this right over my salad. Just take your whole spoon, carve out all those chunks, and then you have little chunks to separate over your salad. This is also how I would do it for like a salsa that I'm not going to be smashing the avocado. But with guacamole, I simply just like put it in slices, scoop it out with my spoon like I did, and then mash it in with the rest of the ingredients. All right, so now I'm going to be cutting a melon. So this technique would work for watermelon, muskmelon, honeydew, or cantaloupe. Sorry, muskmelon and honeydew are the same thing. So what you want to do is just cut it down the center widthwise, so not the lengthwise. And obviously this is just one technique, it's not the only way to cut a melon. So what I do now is I scoop out the seeds. So just get a large serving spoon. And you should be able to get most of them all in one piece. And then any residual juice, just throw it out as well. Then what you want to do is take that half and turn it down, and you essentially just peel the rind right off. And this does take a little bit of practice. You learn not to, you know, waste a ton of the melon, but just keep turning it and carving off slices. Before I learned this technique, I used to just cut the whole cantaloupe into slices and then take the rind off, but it does take a little more time. But depending on the effect you're going for, that would work as well. So just make sure all of the green is off. And then what you want to do is just slice it into about an inch or so, depending on how big you want your bites. And then again, like we do with the vegetables, just turn it and slice it the other direction. And then there are going to be larger pieces that you want to cut again, depending on the width of your melon. So like this here is pretty big, so I'm going to cut that again. And yeah, just go around and get them into bite-sized cubes that you want. Super easy. Alright, so now I'm going to be going through how to cook spaghetti squash. This is a super small spaghetti squash, definitely actually probably extra small. Normally the ones I get are about this size, and that would be what I would consider medium to large. Anything above that would be large, and then this is obviously a small. So what you want to do is wash the spaghetti squash with soap and water, and then rinse it thoroughly. And then take a knife and just poke a couple holes in it. I usually do about 5 to 6. And just be careful as you're doing this, because some squash rinds are pretty tough. Then all you simply do is place the squash in the microwave, and you want to cook it for 6 minutes initially. This actually is probably only going to take 6 minutes because it's so small. It's about 6 minutes per pound. So if you have a 3-pound squash, do the 6 minutes, and then after it comes out of the microwave, rotate it 180, put it in for another 6 minutes, and then again rotate it again, and then a third time for 6 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and cook this one now. Alright, so my spaghetti squash has cooked. It did take an additional like 45 seconds, so a little over 6 minutes. And what you want to look for until it's done is that you can press down and it kind of caves in a little bit. Be careful though, it's going to be hot to the touch. What you want to do is just cut it down lengthwise. And it is a little tough to get through that stem there. Save that for the end, because sometimes what it'll be easier is if you just kind of peel it open then, and it kind of naturally just falls off then. So I'll just be showing you guys with 1/2 here. What you want to do is scoop out, there's going to be a little bit of seeds and then some sliminess. Normally it's more slimy the larger the squash. So just scoop that out like this, and you will notice you'll get these strings here. In my directions on a couple of my recipes I say that, and that's totally fine. You can just throw those away as well. So I got pretty much everything out. This was super easy because it's so small. Sometimes it takes a couple scoops to get all the slime out. But then next what you want to do is peel the spaghetti strands away from the rind here. And I just kind of loosen that up all around the edge. Ideally you would wait about 10 minutes to let this cool. So after I cut it down the middle, I usually let it sit on the counter for 10 minutes to cool. And that's why I'm probably touching it, because it's still pretty hot. But basically I loosened all the strands up, and then you can basically just tip it over and continue to pull out all the strands like this. It's really cool how closely it resembles spaghetti. And you can continue to scrape this out here and get the remaining scraps here. It's just a little hot, so we're gonna leave that in there for now. But yeah, so here is your spaghetti squash, and you simply just plate this on a plate and put your sauce over like you would normal spaghetti.